A heartbroken Jae-Hee paid for a dream trip to Jeju Island, only to be ghosted by her charming boyfriend Min-Jun the day before departure. His shallow obsession with an influencer lifestyle led him to steal her money and disappear without a trace. But a peculiar piece of advice from an old man set in motion a brilliant revenge plan. You won't believe how she turned his own vanity against him and achieved the ultimate sweet victory. Jae-Hee was floating. She wasn't just walking through life, she was gliding on a cloud of pure, unadulterated happiness. Every moment felt like a scene from her favorite romance drama, and the lead role was hers. For 2 incredible years, she and Min-Jun had been a perfect, harmonious melody. He was the anchor in her storm, the sun on her rainy days. He knew how to make her laugh until her sides ached, and his gentle encouragement felt like a superpower, making her believe she could conquer any challenge. He was her rock, her confidant, her everything. And now, their shared dreams were about to become a breathtaking reality. The plan had been their masterpiece, a week-long escape to the enchanting Jeju Island. They had pored over travel guides for months, meticulously mapping out their adventure. They would hike the volcanic trails of Halasan, hand in hand, feeling the crisp air on their faces. They would chase sunsets along the coast, building sandcastles on pristine beaches. Every evening would be a culinary exploration, savoring fresh seafood and the sweet citrus of the island. It wasn't just a trip, it was a promise, a tangible symbol of their future together. To show him how deeply committed she was, how much she valued their bond, Jae-Hee insisted on paying for the entire vacation. It was a grand gesture, a testament to her belief in them. She transferred a significant sum from her savings to his account. A luxurious hotel suite with an ocean view, round-trip flights, and a couple spa day were all booked under his name. He was the planner, the organizer, and she trusted him implicitly with every single detail. His gratitude was effusive. He had hugged her so tightly she could barely breathe, whispering sweet nothings about how this would be the most romantic trip of their lives. But the day before their flight, the melody of their love story suddenly went silent. The sweet symphony of their texts, the constant rhythm of their calls, stopped. A single excited message from her went unanswered. Then another, and another. Her fingers, which had typed so many loving messages, now trembled as she hit the call button, her heart pounding a frantic, uneven rhythm against her ribs. The phone rang once, twice, and then a mechanical, impersonal voice. The subscriber is not available. Her world, just moments ago so bright and vibrant, began to fade into a chilling gray. Panic set in. She called again and again, the unanswered rings echoing the growing emptiness in her chest. The vibrant colors of her dream vacation were draining away, replaced by a cold, numbing dread. She sat by the window, watching the city lights blur through a fog of disbelief. The silence from his end was deafening, a brutal, silent scream of betrayal. It was as if he had simply disappeared from the face of the earth, taking not only her money, but also her heart and the beautiful future she had so carefully constructed. The shock was a physical force, a punch to the gut that stole her breath and left her utterly paralyzed, numb to her very core. She couldn't cry, couldn't scream. Only a hollow, gaping wound remained where her joy had been. The beautiful, perfect life she knew was a lie, and the truth was a cold, desolate wasteland. The world had lost its color. Days bled into one another, marked only by the constant, dull ache in her chest. Jae-Hee moved through her apartment like a ghost, the silence a cruel reminder of the conversations that would never happen, the future that had been stolen. She couldn't bring herself to delete his messages. Instead, she reread them over and over, desperately searching for a hidden meaning, a flicker of deceit she might have missed. But there was nothing. just empty promises that now felt like a cruel joke. The injustice of it all was a heavy chain around her heart, pulling her deeper into a well of despair. One dreary afternoon, with the sky as gray as her mood, she found herself wandering aimlessly. Her feet, as if guided by some unseen force, led her to a small, secluded park she'd never noticed before. It was a peaceful place, a quiet refuge from the bustling city. She sank onto a wooden bench, her head in her hands, the cold metal a stark contrast to the burning pain inside her. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves, but she didn't notice. She was lost in the memory of a lie. A soft rustle beside her broke her trance. She looked up to see an old man, his face a roadmap of a long life, his eyes kind and full of a quiet wisdom. He held out a tissue without a word. "A young heart shouldn't be so heavy," he said, his voice a gentle murmur, like the turning pages of an old book. It was a simple statement, but it pierced through her numbness. For the first time since the betrayal, she felt a crack in the wall she had built around her grief. Without knowing why, Jae-Hee began to speak. The words tumbled out, a torrent of pain and confusion. She told him about Min-Jun, the island, the money, and the sudden, devastating silence. The old man listened with a patient intensity, his gaze never leaving her face. He didn't interrupt, didn't offer platitudes about things getting better. He simply absorbed her story, a silent, compassionate presence. When she finished, exhausted and teary, he shared a story of his own. He spoke of a time he was cheated out of his life savings by a trusted business partner. The sting of the betrayal, the burning desire for retribution, he knew it all. "The anger will consume you," he advised, his voice filled with a profound understanding. "It will burn you from the inside out and leave nothing but ash. But revenge, true revenge, isn't about hurting them back. It's about something much more powerful. It's about showing them that your life is worth more than their petty deceit. Use your pain to find a new path, a stronger self you never knew existed." His words didn't magically erase her pain, but they did something more important. They planted a tiny seed of hope in the barren landscape of her heart. He leaned closer, a conspiratorial glint in his eyes. "You can't get your money back," he said, his voice dropping to a whisper, "but you can get something better. You can get a story. And stories, my dear, have power." This peculiar piece of advice, a puzzle she couldn't yet solve, was the shard of light that broke through her darkness. It was a new perspective, a strange, beautiful idea that hinted at a path forward she never could have imagined on her own. The old man's words were a spark, and Jae-Hee's despair was a powder keg. His simple, profound advice didn't just soothe her, it ignited something fierce within her. She was no longer a victim, adrift in a sea of sadness. She was an archer, pulling back the string of a bow, her aim fixed and steady. Her pain, once a heavy weight, had transmuted into a powerful, focused rage. It wasn't a destructive, chaotic anger, but a cold, calculated fire that burned with purpose. She looked at herself in the mirror and saw not a heartbroken girl, but a woman with a mission. The first step was to understand her enemy. Jae-Hee dove into the digital world, a place where Min-Jun had built his entire identity. She scoured his social media, meticulously examining every post, every tag, every comment. She saw the carefully curated life he presented to the world, the effortless style, the luxurious meals, the endless selfies that screamed of a self-centered ego. He was an aspiring influencer, a man who lived and breathed for the validation of strangers. He craved likes and followers, building his entire self-worth on their fickle admiration. This wasn't just his passion, it was his greatest vulnerability. This was the weakness the old man had pointed her toward. The revenge plan, born from the old man's peculiar advice, was a masterpiece of psychological warfare. It was subtle, elegant, and struck at the very heart of Min-Jun's fragile world. It wasn't about legal battles or public screaming matches. It was about using his own desperate need for attention against him. It was about storytelling. Jae-Hee created a new social media account under a fake name, an anonymous persona that could not be traced back to her. She then crafted her masterpiece, a carefully written post detailing a friend's devastating experience. She described how her friend had paid for a luxurious trip to Jeju Island for her boyfriend, only to be ghosted the day before departure. The story was gripping, relatable, and heart-wrenching. To make it undeniable, she included screenshots, not of Min-Jun's messages, but of the booking confirmations for the flights and the hotel, with the recipient's name carefully blurred, and a screenshot of the bank transfer for the exact amount she had sent. She made sure to include just enough details to be a devastating, unmistakable indictment to anyone who knew their story. The specific location, the timing, the lavish details, it all screamed Min-Jun. She concluded the post with a direct quote from the wise old man, her words echoing with newfound strength. "I was told that my revenge shouldn't be about hurting him back, but about building a new, stronger story for myself." She hit post and let the digital tide take it. The response was immediate and explosive. The post didn't just get likes, it caught fire. It was shared relentlessly across platforms, sparking a ferocious firestorm of comments. People were furious on her behalf, their collective rage a roaring chorus demanding justice. Strangers shared their own stories of betrayal, creating a powerful, unified community. The online world, Min-Jun's entire kingdom, was now a judge and jury, and they were all on Jae-Hee's side. The old man was right. A story had power, and her story was about to become a revolution. The digital whirlwind she had unleashed exceeded her wildest expectations. The anonymous post, a whisper of truth in a sea of noise, had become a viral roar. It had found its way to the hot topics section of a major Korean forum, the kind of place where reputations are made and shattered in a single day. Jae-Hee watched from her hidden corner of the internet as the comment section exploded with outrage and support. The story of the ghosted girlfriend and the stolen dream trip resonated with countless people. Her carefully crafted story had taken on a life of its own, transforming from a personal tragedy into a collective cry for justice. And then the moment she had been waiting for arrived. Her phone, which had been silent for so long, finally buzzed with a notification from an unknown number. It was Min-Jun. The texts were a desperate torrent of pleas and excuses. "Jae-Hee, please, you have to take it down," he wrote. "This is ruining everything for me. I'll pay you back, I swear. Just please make it stop." His panic was palpable, a stark contrast to the casual disregard he had shown her just a few days ago. His carefully constructed online persona, his entire identity built on a foundation of lies and digital smoke and mirrors, was crumbling before his eyes. He finally understood the power of the story she had created. It was more insidious and effective than any direct accusation. A direct legal complaint would have been a private matter, but this was a public trial, and the jury of millions had already delivered its verdict. His fear, his desperation, brought a slow, satisfying smile to Jae-Hee's face. The glee was a bitter, yet intoxicating wine. He tried to bargain, offering to send the money back in a half-hearted attempt to quell the storm. But Jae-Hee was no longer interested in the money. The old man's words echoed in her mind, clear and powerful. Revenge isn't about hurting them back. It's about showing them that your life is worth more than their petty deceit. She typed a short, ice-cold reply. "My sweetest revenge isn't your money," she wrote. "It's that my story is helping others." The battle wasn't for cash. It was for her dignity, for the truth, and for the countless others who had been betrayed. Min-Jun, oblivious to this deeper meaning, continued to flounder. He sent a small, token amount of money to her account, a pathetic gesture he hoped would be enough to make it all go away. But it was too late. The virtual mob had already been set in motion. The online community, fueled by their shared experiences, had started a campaign to mass report his social media accounts for scamming. His followers, once so eager to praise his lavish lifestyle, were now leaving a trail of angry, disillusioned comments. His digital kingdom was collapsing, and Jae-Hee was the queen surveying the ruins. The satisfying feeling of justice was sweeter than any trip could have been. It was the beautiful, delicious taste of a victory won on her own terms. The digital storm finally subsided, leaving a strange and profound silence in its wake. Min-Jun's online presence, the carefully cultivated image of a successful, charming man, had been completely erased. His social media accounts, once his entire world, were gone, a ghost in the machine. His digital identity, which he valued more than Jae-Hee's trust or money, had been utterly destroyed by the very community he so desperately sought to impress. And in that quiet, final moment, Jae-Hee felt an overwhelming sense of calm. The anger had faded, the pain had dulled. All that remained was the quiet satisfaction of a battle won on her own terms. But the story wasn't over. In fact, it was just beginning. The anonymous viral post had opened a floodgate of personal confessions. Jae-Hee, who had once felt so alone in her betrayal, discovered a vast community of people who had been hurt in similar ways. Encouraged by this newfound solidarity, she decided to shed her anonymity. She started a blog titled "The Story That Saved Me," where she openly shared her full journey. The blissful beginning, the devastating betrayal, the wise old man's advice, and her unconventional revenge. Her honesty and vulnerability resonated deeply with her audience. Her followers grew exponentially, drawn to her courage and resilience. She wasn't just a person who had been wronged, she was a beacon of hope for others. She offered a different kind of advice, not about vengeance, but about healing and self-empowerment. Her story wasn't about a man's destruction, it was about a woman's triumph. She discovered a new purpose, a calling she never knew she had. The ultimate validation came in the form of a book deal. A publisher, captivated by her unique and inspiring story, offered her a contract. Jae-Hee, the woman who had lost her savings and her faith in love, was now a published author. As she wrote the final chapter, she reflected on the journey. The dream trip to Jeju Island had been a beautiful illusion, a destination she once thought she needed for happiness. But the path she had been forced to take, the unexpected journey of healing and self-discovery, had led her to a place far more valuable. She had not only regained her financial stability, but had also found a profound new sense of purpose and strength. She thought of the old man in the park, his gentle voice and peculiar wisdom. He had been so right. Her revenge wasn't about tearing Min-Jun down, it was about building herself up. She had won by transforming her pain into purpose, her betrayal into inspiration. She had found something far more valuable than a luxury vacation or a relationship with a dishonest man. She had found her own voice, her own story, and in doing so, she had helped countless others find theirs. Her story, the one she was told had power, became the sweetest story of all.